Hey YouTube and hey BookTube. So in the past, all the books I ever reviewed I've always just kind of read the book, held it up. A lot of times I wouldn't even review the individual books. I would just kind of put them in a category, and if I had something special to say about the book, I would add to it at that point. So this is definitely something new for me. I'm going to do an unboxing. I ordered this book on Amazon. The book is S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, I think, is the other author. Actually, the main author. And the reason I want to do an unboxing with you guys and do a first impressions on this book is because this book is very visual as well as the actual reading. So the visual aspect of it adds to the story, and it's supposed to be very beautiful and intricate. So I thought it'd be interesting to do an unboxing and show you guys what it looks like. So let's do that. Open the Amazon box. Open that. And whoa. That looks like a DVD box set. Alright, and then here's the actual book. Did I tell you guys? Doug Dorst. Yeah, Doug Dorst. That's what I got. Okay. So it comes like this. It's in one of these box. I don't know what these are called. I'm sure they have like a name. The little box, and then the book is inside. And for those of you guys who ever watched any of my other book reviews, you know that I actually do not like hardbound books. I generally don't like dust covers. I actually don't like any of these things because I just feel like it's extra space. It makes the book more difficult to carry around with you. You know, I'm somebody who kind of doesn't treat my books well. I love my books, but at the same time I don't treat them very well. So I'm generally not a fan of this. So anyway, it comes like this. And then we have to take the little plastic off. Okay. I do have to admit that it is quite pretty. So this is really interesting because the book, because this book is a book within a book within a book, and J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, they wrote S, and the book you actually read is called Ship of Theseus, which is supposedly written by V.M. Straka, who is a anonymous author. So, of course, this book was also written by the two of them, but I think the presentation's kind of cool. So they wrote S, and he wrote this book, and all this kind of stuff. Okay, so now we have to break another tab here. So let's do that. Oh, hey! This isn't brand new. This tab is ripped already. Oh, that's BS. Unless it was meant to be ripped. Okay, so for me, this tab is ripped already. I don't know if that means I got a used, because I ordered a new copy, but now I'm thinking maybe this is a used copy. So let's take that book out. And then we have the actual book. Okay, and then let's open this book up. So, okay. Cool, right on the first page is this little insert. So there's several inserts in this book, and this is the part that really intrigued me when I was researching like odd and unique books to read. So you're kind of reading the actual story. So this is the actual Ship of Theseus story. Then you've got these two people who are writing they're writing notes to each other, and they're trying to figure out who this anonymous writer is. And something else is almost falling out. So you got like all these levels to this story, so that's kind of cool. And I decided after watching reviews from other people that the way I'm going to try to read it, because most people, they read this, then they read the notes, and they read everything at the same time. I decided I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to try to read the actual novel and then go back and read all the side notes. So that's the way I'm going to try to read it. I'm not sure if it'll make sense that way, but I'm hoping it will. If it doesn't, then I'm going to have to change it and read the side notes at the same time. But that I think will be better in terms of clarity for one story at a time, because a lot of people who have reviewed this book, who've already read it, said that the only thing they really didn't enjoy is that it can become so convoluted that you're really kind of lost and not understanding what's going on. So I'm wondering if I do it this way, maybe I'll be able to pick up and understand every story individually. So let's put that back in there. Let's see what else we have in here. And we have a postcard from Brazil that also has notes. Of course, I don't really know is the note to which storyline this note is. So basically this book is just full of like little notes and letters that also add to the story, which I'm not really sure in which order is the best way to read this. This is kind of yeah, and then show you guys another page. So then the pages have like writing on the margins. The way I understand this is that you're supposed to feel when you read this book like you just happen to walk into a library. If you can see here, it even has like a fake library sticker. Actually, that is a real sticker, so it's a sticker. The experience is supposed to be like you walked into a library and you found this book and you pulled it out and it had all these writings on it, and you know, so you're also part of the discovery and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know, like I can't say anything to how good this book itself is going to be. From the reviews I've already watched, nobody was like, wow, this book blew me away. Most people just really enjoyed the fact that it was so unique and that it was just something they've never read before. So that's kind of, so I don't know if it's maybe just more gimmicky than it is a good storyline, and if it's just a big gimmick and it's not actually a good story, you know that I'm going to oh, this is cool. The very last page of the book. So it really does look like a library loan. That's actually a pretty cool touch. I will say the presentation is beautiful. It's definitely incredibly unique from anything that I've ever seen, so that's really cool. So I'm actually really excited about that aspect. But if it ends up being a bad book, then you know that I'm going to review it as such, and I'm going to say this was not a very good book. So, oh, this is cool. It's like a map drawn on a napkin. So, very excited to start this book. I'm currently reading another book, but once I finish that, this will be the next book that I start. And then once I've completed this book, I will of course let you guys know how I feel about it and give you a review on this. One of the things that I don't know if I've ever mentioned, I also write and highlight in my books. So I think it's going to be really funny because on top of the already things written in the margin, I'm going to be adding my own writings and highlights into this book. So this book is going to look crazy by the time I'm done. So yeah, that's it. I wanted you guys to be there for the unboxing, and the next time you hear me talking about this book is after I could tell you guys how long it is. That's something I could do. It is 456 pages. At the rate I'm going right now with reading, I'm guessing this will take me about 3 to 4 days to read. So, yeah. All right, stay tuned for the big reveal and how I thought it was when I actually read it. Hi. Bye. Hey you guys, so I'm here to conclude my reading of or Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straka, aka J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. As I already mentioned when I showed you guys the unpacking, I absolutely love the presentation of this book. I think it's very beautiful. Okay, not this is something that I drew. But I love like the idea of the notes and like the little drawings and all this kind of stuff, and you know, and the little touches of book to loan, everything to kind of just give it this feeling as if you picked this up from a library, right? And of course, then there was all these little notes and inlays. I don't know, the whole, like, I definitely have to say the presentation, I saw somebody else on a different review that I saw this, they did this, they took the notes out and then wrote down what page it was on so they could put it back in the correct page, and I thought that was really clever, so I did the same thing. So for presentation, in terms of it being very unique, I definitely give this book an A+. I thought there's just nothing I can say in terms of the presentation. I really loved the idea of it, and I also have to say that is the not only main, but the only reason I bought this book. I was looking up, unique book styles, unique books, and this one came up on the list, and I was very much intrigued by the presentation of it, and that's why I bought it. There really hasn't been a lot of reviews on terms of the story itself, so that's what I'm going to get into with you guys now. So, as I already mentioned, can I put this book down, or do I have to keep holding it? Maybe I can do something like this. There you go. As I already mentioned, I had watched some other reviews online, and nobody really gave a big, this book was amazing, or this book was terrible, and there wasn't really any spoilers, so I really kind of went into the book just seeing what was going to happen. And the one thing a lot of people said is that the book would very easily become very confusing because there's so many dimensions to it. There's the actual story, Ship of Theseus, then there's all the notes, which a lot of times are disconnected from everything, from a completely different time. Then there's the notes in the margin, which is which is actually two different stories. One is the two people trying to find out who VM Straka is because they think it's an alias, and the other is kind of their love story of how they're coming together. So there's just a lot going on, and it kind of become very easy to become very convoluted and confusing. So what I decided I was going to do, and what I did, is I first read the actual book, Ship of Theseus, to completion. Then I went back and read all of the notes. And then the last thing I did is I went and I read all the little inserts that came with the book. And so in terms of the actual novel, that really cut down in terms of confusion, because that's definitely something that could be a standalone novel, Ship of Theseus. It could be completely standalone, and you can read it, and there's a story there, and there was no... Well, yeah, so that worked out really well. In terms of the notes and the margins, it still didn't work that well because even the margins are overlaid in different time periods, and it kind of jumps back and forth, and it's really, I think it's just meant to kind of be a little bit confusing because there's not really any rhyme or reason that were given to why Jen and Eric, why they write where they do in the book and how it starts and all this kind of stuff. So that kind of still stays a little bit confusing throughout the whole process. Okay, so as I told you guys, even though I love the presentation, when I unboxed it, I told you that I am going to give you guys an honest review of how I felt the book and the story was. So I'm going to do that right now. In terms of the actual book, Ship of Theseus, I keep calling it the actual book, the main story, Ship of Theseus, I was really into it for the first 3 quarters of it. I think the writing was excellent, the idea was excellent. It's definitely a storyline that you don't read very often. I haven't read before, so I was really intrigued by that. Like I said, I think the writing is very good, very unique. And I was definitely captivated for it. And for the first 3 quarters of it, I actually would have said I would have given Ship of Theseus probably an A- in terms of ratings, because I was like, oh, this is really good. Then, maybe about 150 pages prior to the ending, I kind of was like, why do I get a feeling like I'm watching the TV show Lost? And no joke, I really was like, I get the feeling like I'm watching the TV show Lost. And then I actually found out that J.J. Abrams, I did not know this, cross my heart, swear to God, I did not know this, but J.J. Abrams, who was co-author of this book, also was co-director or director of the show Lost. And the reason I'm saying that it reminded me of Lost, I don't know how many of you have watched that TV show. Basically, the first 3 seasons of Lost were amazing. There was like all these intrigues and all these plots and all these different storylines, and people were like, whoa, what's going on? This is so cool, and how do these people connect and all this kind of stuff. But the problem was there was never any resolution to any of the plot lines. Nothing was ever resolved. And what the writers ended up doing, because they were like, damn, we kind of wrote ourselves into a corner and we haven't been able to resolve anything, they just kind of created more plots and created more stories, and just at the end it was just this jarble of just unfinished storylines, and nobody really knew, okay, what was the resolution of this? And that's the same thing that happens in this book, and I find it really, really disappointing. The last 150 pages are really sloppy. It's basically like he creates all these ideas about the actual ship. There's an actual ship in here. What does it mean? The main character in this book, he doesn't remember his past life. Like we basically start the novel with him going, who am I? Where am I? What is going on? Like, I don't remember anything prior to this moment right now. And then just at the end, the writer just kind of goes, I can't think of a good backstory, so he just doesn't care anymore. And we just don't care about why the ship works the way it works, all this kind of stuff. And then there's like a huge, huge FU in the last 150 pages where the main character is in this like perilous situation. And then all of a sudden, boop, they're like, and now he's safe and he's in the city. He doesn't know how he got to this city. He doesn't remember anything. He just knows that this city is a good place to be. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's such sloppy writing. It's literally like, oh, I wrote myself into a corner. I don't really know where to go from here, so screw it. I'm just going to completely change everything. And that really killed the main story for me. I just was like, this is so sloppy. This so much reminds me of the show Lost, where you created all these questions and plot lines with the reader, and then you're just too lazy to answer any of them, and you just kind of at the end just leave us all like, okay, so who was he? What was up with the main bad guy? Why did the ship work the way it did? I have like 20,000 questions and none of them were answered. I just find that really frustrating, and I think it's a little kind of a FU to the reader. I just don't appreciate that. So that really killed the main storyline for me, and I would say that would have dragged the book down a whole letter grade for me, at least down to a B-, because the last 150 pages were just like terrible to read, in my opinion. In terms of the storyline the storyline that was created in the notes, didn't care for it at all. Like I said, I thought the presentation was very cute. I thought the idea was very cute, but the things that were written in the notes were just so asinine and silly, and things that like the notes are between a graduate student and an undergraduate student, both supposedly highly educated people who can really do a lot of research and are really intelligent, and then the notes they leave are so just silly and stupid and something childish like that I don't think you would find in people who are really into academia and research. Like, it just seems really silly to me. So the whole like them trying to figure out who is Straka was really, that storyline I thought was really boring and just badly executed. And also the love story to me was really, like, anything to do with the margins to me was just complete crap. So they're writing back and forth inside this book, which is in a library, which already doesn't make sense to me, because in the very beginning, one of the very first notes, right here, it's like on the second page, we find out that Eric stole this book from a high school library. So he would steal this book from a high school library because it's really important for his research, and then stock it into his college library. Like, that already to me is like, that makes no sense. Plus, they communicate via writing books like writing notes in this margin. But the thing is, like, she's in her last semester of undergrad, and there's a lot of notes in here. So I mean, like, both these people, what? It just doesn't make any sense to me how the system of exchange would have happened, because they never, like, this writing continues because Eric isn't comfortable with them meeting, for the longest time and all this kind of stuff, which fine, he doesn't have to be. But I was like, it just seems really weird to me that one person would check it out and then write a bunch of notes and leave it, and then how did they manage the exchange in a way that they could actually have intelligible communication between each other? Like, it just seems like it would just not work. Like, they have other things they have to do in their lives, and to check it out, write some notes, check it back in, like, it just, that to me just seemed really stupid. Like, it just doesn't seem like it would work. Not to mention that, okay, this is kind of like a book that isn't everybody's style, but if it's in a college library, and I have a hard time believing that nobody else then would have checked this book out. And there's things written in this book, and there's things written in the notes that they left in this book that are, like, super confidential, and nobody's allowed to know, and it even says, like, burn this after you're finished reading it, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, the logistics of it, I think, is just really shit. And it just, for me, really killed the margin storyline. I just was like, the logistics doesn't work. The back and forth doesn't work. What they wrote to me was just silly. It wasn't academic. So I just felt like that whole thing just completely fell through. So I have to say that kicked it down even further. So at this point, I have to say presentation A+, storyline overall is at the most a C. Yeah. So, but like to say, like, this is the first go at something like this. I think in the future, maybe if somebody else picks this idea up and executes it in a way that is better, I think this could be a really fun idea for a book in the future. But just here, I don't think it was executed that well. So that is my review on S/Ship of Theseus. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And take care.